You know how sometimes a news story just cuts through the noise and paints a picture in your mind? That's what happened with this one out of Hyderabad.
Hmm.
Imagine bulldozers facing off against not just empty land, but a whole little world of nature right next to Hyderabad Central University.
Right.
We're talking about 400 acres in Kanchagachibowli. Now, you might picture
Hmm.
just like some dusty fields, but what our sources revealed is something much richer. A real ecological zone, believe it or not, buzzing with wildlife and even these incredibly unique rock formations.
Yeah, it's quite something.
It felt like a scene ripped from a nature documentary, except the drama wasn't about lions and gazelles, but about whether this little pocket of wilderness can survive, the pressures of development.
It really throws a spotlight on a dilemma that's becoming more and more common in rapidly growing cities like Hyderabad, doesn't it?
Exact.
This constant push and pull between the need for more infrastructure and industry and, well, the fundamental value of the natural ecosystems that already exist.
Mm.
What's particularly striking to me is that this isn't some behind-the-scenes negotiation. The fact that the Telangana High Court has stepped in with an order, well, that really signals a significant moment of conflict that should grab your attention.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. We've got the concerns raised by citizens and environmental groups, and we're going to unpack why the court felt it necessary to halt all the land clearing.
Right.
Think of this as your fast track to understanding what could be a really pivotal environmental showdown in Hyderabad. Forget the quick news alerts. We're digging into the surprising details that often get overlooked.
So let's talk about that halt order. It wasn't just a suggestion, was it?
No, not at all.
The Telangana High Court, very recently, issued a temporary stay on any excavation work happening on those 400 acres. That's a pretty firm move by the court.
Definitely.
And it came from a division bench. There's Acting Chief Justice Sujoy Paul and Justice Renuka Yara. So you can see this wasn't a decision taken lightly. They clearly saw merit in the petitions they received.
Right. And those petitions, as you might expect, didn't just appear out of thin air. They were a direct response to a specific action taken by the government, weren't they?
Hmm. The Geo 54.
This Government Order 54, which came out on June 26, 2024, essentially this order transferred that entire 400-acre area over to the Telangana Industrial Infrastructure Corporation Limited, TGIIC.
Ah, the TGIIC.
Think of them as the state's primary body for developing industrial areas. So as you can imagine, the intention behind this move is quite clear: industrial development.
And that's where the core of the conflict emerges. You have organizations like the Vata Foundation, ENPO, led by Uday Krishna Pittareddy, and the expertise of a seasoned voice and retired scientist Kalapala Babu Rao stepping forward.
Okay.
Their central argument, as I understand it, goes beyond just trying to save a few trees.
Hmm.
They're really highlighting the deep ecological importance of this particular piece of land, emphasizing its role as a vital habitat.
So it's about the whole ecosystem.
Exactly. Their perspective is that it's something that urgently needs protection,
Mm.
which is, in direct opposition to the government's industrial plans.
And it sounds like they didn't just walk into court with heartfelt pleas, right? There were some serious legal arguments being made.
Precisely. Their senior advocates, S. Naranjan Reddy and L. Ravichandra, really played what you might consider a crucial legal card by bringing up established Supreme Court precedents.
Oh, interesting. What precedents?
What's fascinating here for you is the core of their argument. The definition of a forest shouldn't just rely on some official designation in government records.
Oh, okay. So not just paperwork.
Instead, they argued, and this is key to understanding their strategy, that a forest should be defined by its actual ecological characteristics. If it functions as a forest, if it supports a forest ecosystem, then legally it should be treated as such, regardless of what a land registry might say.
Which naturally leads us to the question of what's actually on this land, doesn't it? It's not just an empty plot waiting for construction.
Not at all.
Our sources paint a picture of a really vibrant array of wildlife: spotted deer roaming around, wild boars, even star tortoises, and Indian rock pythons.
Wow.
These aren't your typical urban wildlife. Their presence suggests a well-established and functioning ecosystem.
Hmm.
And it's not just the animals. The area also features lakes and these iconic mushroom rock formations, which really gives you a sense of a unique landscape, something with its own inherent geological and even aesthetic value.
Exactly. And the petitioners weren't just focusing on the biological and geological aspects. They also raised significant questions about the process the government was undertaking.
Like how they started the work?
Yeah, they alleged a crucial procedural misstep. claiming that the government moved forward with deploying a large number of JCB excavators. We're talking about 30 to 40 of these heavy machines before obtaining the necessary approval from an expert committee.
30 to 40, that's a lot.
For you, that sheer scale of immediate intervention should raise concerns, and the petitioners quite rightly warned about the potential for a rapid and devastating ecological disaster right in the heart of Hyderabad's financial district.
But of course, the government has its own perspective on all of this. Advocate General A. Sudarshan Reddy presented their counter-argument, and it seems they're viewing this land through a very different lens.
That's right. The crux of their argument is that officially this land is not classified as forest land.
Okay, so back to the official records.
They're emphasizing that it has been designated for industrial use for a considerable amount of time. They even brought up historical context, referring to this land as Concha land, dating back to the Nizam era.
Right, I remember reading that.
And pointing out a previous allocation to IMG Haratha way back in 2003. What's interesting for you to note here is their attempt to frame this as land that was already intended for development, rather than some untouched natural area that's suddenly under threat.
And they even used the surrounding urban development as part of their case, didn't they?
They did.
The fact that there are already high-rise buildings nearby was presented as, like, evidence against this being some pristine, untouched natural haven.
It's a somewhat curious argument, almost suggesting that because development has already encroached to some extent, there's no further harm in continuing that trend.
Yeah, it makes you wonder where the line is drawn, you know?
It really raises a fundamental question about how we define and value natural spaces within urban environments. Does the proximity of development automatically disqualify an area from having significant ecological value in your eyes?
That's a good point.
The court, it seems, wasn't entirely swayed by the government's initial arguments, given their decision to issue the stay and schedule a further hearing. That postponement until Thursday at 2:45 p.m. and the continued halt on all excavation activities really highlights the seriousness with which they're treating these concerns.
And this isn't just a legal and environmental issue playing out in the courtroom. It's clearly resonated with the local community, especially the students.
Absolutely. The University of Hyderabad Students' Union has taken a very strong stance, leading protests that include boycotting classes and organizing sit-in demonstrations.
Wow, boycotting classes.
Their demands are quite clear. They want the planned land auction to be stopped, the earth-moving equipment removed, and the area preserved as what they see as a crucial green space. It's a powerful example for you to witness, young people directly engaging with environmental issues that have a tangible impact on their immediate surroundings.
And it appears those protests even drew in some political elements, though it wasn't without some tension.
Yes, we saw leaders from various political youth wings, the Bharatiya Janata Yuva Morcha, BJYM, the Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad, ABVP, and left parties attempting to become involved on the university campus.
Try and get involved.
However, the university administration and the police presence seemed focused on maintaining order, and unfortunately, reports indicate that several students were detained during these events.
Oh, really? Detained?
Yeah. It underscores for you how environmental concerns can quickly become intertwined with broader political dynamics and how different groups might try to frame or, well, leverage these situations.
So as it stands right now, we're in this state of limbo. The High Court has temporarily halted the development, but the fundamental conflict is very much unresolved.
Pretty much.
That upcoming hearing is going to be absolutely critical in determining the immediate future of this 400-acre ecological zone.
Precisely. The situation is dynamic, and the outcome of that Thursday hearing is genuinely uncertain. You have these two very different visions for this land colliding head-on. The government's prioritization of industrial development and the passionate advocacy for preservation coming from environmentalists and students.
Right.
It really encapsulates this larger societal debate that you see playing out in many places about how we strike that balance between economic progress and environmental stewardship.
So to bring it all together, what we're looking at here is a significant ecological area right on the edge of a major urban center facing a very real possibility of industrial development. It's a story that involves important legal precedents, the practical challenges of environmental protection, and the social and political reactions that inevitably emerge when these kinds of conflicts arise.
And it leaves you, the listener, with a really fundamental question to consider, doesn't it?
Yeah, what's the takeaway?
In rapidly expanding urban areas like Hyderabad, what truly defines value when we're making decisions about how land is used? Is it solely about potential economic gains, or do we also fully account for the inherent ecological worth and the long-term consequences for both the environment itself and the communities that live alongside it?
That's the big question.
It's a complex equation without straightforward answers. And this situation near Hyderabad Central University serves as a stark illustration of that ongoing calculation. It prompts you to reflect on the kind of legacy we are creating, not just in terms of buildings and infrastructure, but also in the preservation of the natural world that, surrounds us.